Someone in my distant family was diagnosed with ALS. I heard the story of his death when I was around 12. Slowly, his autonomy slipped away until he was bedridden and unable to speak. Family members would come and visit him, and he was only able to communicate messages by blinking as an aide pointed to letters on a chart, and he would horrify his family members by spelling out "kill me" when they would come to visit him. Um, I think that if this man, who happened to be of advanced rank in the military, if he had been informed when he was told that he had ALS and how ALS progresses and how it would confine him to his bed, his body like that in pain, if he'd been informed about the option of assisted suicide and told that it was a way that he could handle his terminal illness, I think that he would have taken that option, and he would have saved himself and his family a lot of agony. Most states do not offer assisted suicide. California, Montana, Oregon, and Washington are the only states right now where it's legal, and in Montana it's only legal with a court order. If you find yourself dying of a terminal illness with no prognosis of recovering, you are not allowed to decide when you can die. This is illustrated by a story told by reporting done in Mother Jones magazine about a man named Harry who discovered that he had inoperable cancer, and that he was living in California before assisted suicide was legal. And what happened was he began researching ways to take his own life responsibly because he was told about how his disease would progress, and it was pretty horrific. So eventually he found a way to kill himself responsibly, and he said goodbye to all his friends and family and had to go into a room by himself after writing a note detailing that his family was in no way responsible for what he was about to do. And he went in and suffocated himself with a plastic bag over his head as the bag filled with helium. So that's not really a wonderful way to die. Die by yourself of slow suffocation. No one should have to die alone, especially if it's a situation where assisted suicide could alleviate a lot of their suffering. Physician-assisted suicide should be legal all over the United States. Currently, there are a few states that have introduced legislature to approve and legalize physician-assisted suicide. In those states, they include Tennessee, Rhode Island, and New York. But if you want to live out the rest of your days with your disease, that should be your choice and your choice alone. And if you're diagnosed with a terminal illness, you must move to one of these 4 states where it is legal if you want to attain physician-assisted suicide, and that seems wrong. You should have your choice of when you want to die, especially when it comes to a terminal illness and you are not depressed. However, there are some that say making physician-assisted suicide prevalent in the United States has some very dangerous downsides. One of them is that if it does become legal all across the United States, that doctors would push it to reduce the cost of care, that, caring for somebody that is incapacitated and in a lot of pain, it's a lot of pain medication, it's a lot of expensive machinery, you have to have people monitoring them full time, and that gets expensive very quickly, and doctors might manipulate people or kind of push assisted suicide in order to make it seem like maybe their only option, when in reality it's just the expensive option. Another thing might be that if you have to screen very carefully for depression, that sometimes, doctors could get lazy and just be like, not screen as carefully, and people with depression would get through, and that maybe there's a chance that somebody that's depressed could kill themselves prematurely, or in general that somebody could kill themselves prematurely when they have more hope for longer life than the doctor anticipated. People can outlive mortality prognoses. However, it should be noted that in all states where assisted suicide is legal, you have to be screened for depression very carefully in order to obtain this prescription. You also have to be assessed whether or not you are of sound enough mind to make the decision for yourself. So there are safeguards put in place for people In Oregon, you have to attain approval from 2 different doctors demonstrating that you do not have depression, that you cannot cure your disease, and that your suffering is intolerable, in order to gain access to assisted suicide. Assisted suicide is a merciful and helpful option for people that are dying from an incurable and painful disease. It should be legal across the United States as an optional way of treating a terminal illness.